I'm Jane from Poppy Patchwork and welcome to my new video. This video is going to show you how to make the homegrown block. It's going to be a finished size of 12 inches. So once you've sewn it all together it will be 12.5 inches, and when you sew it into a quilt it'll be a 12-inch quilt block. I made this video whilst in my holiday home, and so most of the sewing has been done on my trusty little Janome Gem sewing machine. This video is a little bit different from my other quilt block videos, and I'm going to actually demonstrate putting the block together. I'd really appreciate your comments and let me know what you think of it. If you like my videos, please click like and subscribe. Now let's get quilting.
So I've made the homegrown block using an economy block, some split square triangle blocks and setting squares, and it will make a 12.5 inch unfinished block. In the centre we have the economy block, and then we have split square triangle blocks round the sides. These ones highlighted are all identical, and these are also all identical, but they are different to the other split square triangle blocks. And then we have the 4 setting squares. You will need 5 3.5 inch squares in background fabric and 2 4 3/4 inch squares. In fabric A you will need 2 3.5 inch squares and 2 4 3/4 inch squares. In fabric B you will need 2 4.5 inch squares and 2 4 3/4 inch squares. And in fabric C you will need 2 4 3/4 inch squares. All the details for your fabric requirements will be in the description box below. Making the economy block. So to make the economy square block you're going to need 3 fabrics. You're going to need the background fabric, fabric A and fabric B. So we're going to begin by cutting the fabric A's in half diagonally. Then we're going to find the centre point along the cut edge. I'm just going to fold it in half and do a finger press for those. Just have to be careful because that cut edge is on the bias and it is a bit stretchy. Now with the square that's going to be in the centre we need to find the centre on both sides. So I'm just going to finger press it down one side and then finger press it down the other side. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach the 4 triangles to the 4 sides of this centre square. So right sides together, I'm going to match that centre point with the centre point. So we're going to match the centre point on the triangle with the centre point on the square. Let's pin that in place. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to begin just by doing that on 2 sides, the opposite sides of this square. So I'm going to begin by setting the seams and then I'm going to press the seams towards the triangles. And now I'm going to trim these dog ears off. So lining my ruler up against the side of the middle square, I'm just going to trim these edges away. So now I'm going to add the other triangles to the other sides of the square. So I'm going to set those seams again, and then I'm going to press the seams towards the triangles. So now we need to trim this unit down, and we need to make sure that we've got a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So with your ruler you need to make sure that the 1/4 inch line on the ruler is on the point of the triangle. And the other thing you want to do is make sure that when you're cutting that it is the ruler that you're using is straight on the unit. So I've got a 1/4 inch marked here on the edge, but I've also got a line of the ruler running down through the two other corners in the center of the triangle. So I'm going to make my first cut. And now I'm going to turn the unit round. So again, I'm going to line a 1/4 inch up on this point here, and I'm going to make sure that the ruler lines go through the 2 points, opposite points here. So now we have our unit nicely trimmed, and this is the first stage to make the economy block. Now the next thing we're going to do with the economy block is bring in the fabric that's going to go on the outer edge. So we have these two squares that are 4.5 inches square, and we're going to cut them in half diagonally. Now, like we did before, these triangles are going to go around the unit like so. So again, we need to mark those halfway points along the lines that we just cut, or at least along the edges that we just cut. So I'm just going to finger press the halfway points. Again, you've got to be careful with that cut edge because it is on the bias and it can be stretchy, so do handle with care. And like we did before, we're going to match that halfway point up with the seam allowance here. I'm just going to push the pin through that halfway point, and then I'm going to push the pin directly on that point in the block.
I'm going to pin this on one side, and then I'm going to pin it again on the opposite side. So when I'm taking this pin and putting it through the fabric, I'm kind of judging where that 1/4 inch is away from the edge, so that when I push it through the point on the block, it is a 1/4 inch away. There we go, we're ready to take that to the sewing machine. This time, when I take it to the sewing machine, I'm going to sew it with this side facing me. This will let me see the 2 seams that we've sewn previously and where those seams cross over, and that is the point. And so that I don't blunt my point, I want to sew just to one side of that point as I come down with this new seam. So like before, I'm going to set the seams, and then I'm going to press the seams towards the triangle. And now I can see if I have got really nice points. Yes, I'm really pleased with those points. And again, like we did before, we're going to cut those dog ears off. So lining your ruler up against the edge of the unit, we're just going to cut these off. Now we're going to put the other triangles on the other side of the unit, and once again over at the sewing machine I'm going to flip it over and sew on this side so that I can see those seams coming up to the point here. So once again I'm going to set those seams, and I'm going to press the seams towards the triangles. And again I can now check to see if I have got good points all round. So I'm very happy with those points, and now we have to trim the economy block unit down. So like before, we're going to make sure that there's a 1/4 inch from the point to the edge of the ruler, and that a line on the ruler is running straight between the 2 opposite points on this block. So that is the economy block trimmed and finished. Making the split square triangle blocks. So to make the split square triangle units, we are going to start by drawing 4 lines on the wrong side of the background fabrics. So first of all, I'm going to line the 1/4 inch line along the center. So between those 2 corners I've got the 1/4 inch line running down here, and then I'm going to mark this line on the ruler.
I'm then going to turn the fabric round and lining that 1/4 inch line again down the centre between the two corners. I'm going to draw again against this ruler. So those two lines are going to be 1/2 inch apart from each other. I'm then going to do that again across the other diagonal. So I'm lining this 1/4 inch line across the centre in the diagonal here, and I'm going to draw down the side. And then I'm going to turn that round and draw my 4th line. Again, I'm going to line that 1/4 inch along the diagonal between the two corners and draw my 4th line, which will be 1/2 inch away from the line I just drew. I'm going to repeat that on the wrong side of the other background fabric. So now I have 4 lines drawn on the back of both my background squares of fabric. I'm now going to pin these right sides together with the pink fabric. I'm going to pin them away from the lines because we are going to be sewing on those lines. So we're going to be sewing on the lines, and I would recommend you change your foot to an open toe foot or a foot where you can see the lines more easily. So we're going to come down, first of all, we're going to come down on the right hand line. When we hit the centre, we're going to stop, go across the centre to meet the left hand line, and then continue on down that left line. Then we're going to remove it and sew down the right hand side of the other line on the diagonal. Let me demonstrate. So I've lined the right hand line on my sewing machine, and I'm going to be sewing down this side. Now I'm in the centre, and I'm going to just make sure that my needle is in a down position. It doesn't matter if you're not bang on in the centre, you just need to be somewhere between those two lines, the 4 lines in the centre. So I'm going to pivot the square round, and now I'm going to sew over to the next line. I went a little bit far on that, so I'm just going to reverse. And now I'm going to put it down, I'm going to lift, and now I'm going to sew down the line on the left hand side. So I'm just going to reposition the camera to see if we can get a better angle on this so that you can see a bit more clearly what I'm doing. So this is a bit more of a close-up, and I'm going to start sewing. So I've got two lines here. They're not very visible. One is here and one is here. So I'm going to sew down the right hand line. Now I've hit the centre and I've got those 4 lines, little square marked out in the centre. I'm now going to turn the fabric around and I'm going to sew across to the other line that I can see now. Do that last one by hand so I don't go too far. I'm now going to pivot and I'm now going to come down on the left hand side. So now we've got 4 stitching lines on the square. I'm going to repeat that with the other squares of fabric, but this time by coming down on the left hand side to begin with. So start on the left and pivot to the right. So I'm just going to take the pins out of these. Now we need to cut between the 2 lines that we drew. So we want to cut directly on that diagonal. So lining the 1/4 inch against one of those lines, you're going to cut down the centre between the 2 drawn lines. And you're going to do that in both diagonals. Now we need to set the seams and then press them open. I'm going to press the seams towards the darker fabrics. So you now cut your 4 3/4 inch square in half across the diagonal. So I'm going to pin the 1/4 square triangles that were sewn down the left hand side to the fabric A's, and then I'm going to pin the 1/4 square triangles that were sewn down the right hand side to the fabric B's. So you do have to be a bit careful with this because they have been cut on the bias, and the bias can stretch very easily. I'm now going to sew these together with a 1/4 inch seam. So I'm going to set the seams on these. And then I'm going to press the seams open. So these units need to be trimmed to 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches. Now we need to make sure that this line is in the centre. So half of 3.5 is 1 3/4. So I need to line the diagonal line on the ruler along the seam, and where it intersects with the triangles, it needs to be at 1 3/4. So this point here is 1 3/4. So I've got that all positioned. I'm going to go up one side and along the top, and then I'm going to rotate the unit round, and again I'm going to line that diagonal line on the ruler, and I'm going to put these corners on this side at the 3.5 inch. That's how big it needs to be. And now again I'm going to go up one side and along the top. So now I have a unit which is 3.5 inches square, and this is in the centre here. Now that's using this type of ruler, a standard square ruler. You can also use this type of ruler, which is a quilt in a day ruler. So before you press your seams open, you leave your unit folded in half, and you line up the stitch line at 3.5. The stitch line along the bottom is a 3.5 line on the ruler. And the ruler also has a vertical line going up, and you line that up along your stitch line, and then you simply cut up and down. So if I open that out now, we can see that is same size as the one we did previously. The only thing I need to do is cut these dog ears off with a pair of scissors. So I find using this quilt in a day ruler much easier, so I'm going to trim the rest of these units to 3.5 using this quilt in a day triangle square up ruler. So there we go, that is all of those trimmed up. I'll cut the dog ears off now and give them another press. So this is the block laid out, and I'm going to start by joining the split square triangles together, here, here, here and here. If you want to get perfect points on your blocks, you can watch my video on this. I put a link to it up in the corner of the screen, but in the meantime I'm going to pin these together. And I'm going to sew those seams together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm now going to set these seams, and then I'll press the seams open. So I've sewn the side pieces together, and now I'm going to pin the tops and bottoms in these columns. So I just used the positioning pin technique, which is in the video that I recommended before,
about getting perfect points on your blocks. And now I'm going to sew those together.
You continue joining the columns and rows together until you have finished the block. Congratulations, you have made the homegrown quilt block. And if you like this video, please click like and subscribe and click the alert bell. Thanks for watching and happy quilting!